Brothers and sisters, this is a sketch of Sanji that I worked up for King of Lightning. Hope you enjoy it. Remember to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook to see more pictures like this first.
One Piece, Chapter 64, The Mighty Battle Spear.
Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the epic, action-packed, thrill-a-minute, adventure that is called One Piece. Our last chapter saw us finally seeing Luffy start slapping the shit out of Don Krieg, a character who is portrayed very well. I mean, in a comic, in a manga, if you can truly feel like you dislike or have hatred towards that person, that fictional character, then the writer and the artist are doing a good job. In this case, it's obviously one and the same. But so it left us off at the end of it with Don Krieg had gotten hit a couple times by Luffy. Had actually been knocked down. Luffy punched right through his wall of spikes with his with his bullet punch, and basically said, "I'm not going to die. This isn't my place." Don Krieg went and kind of picked him up on his shield again and went to go and nail him. Luffy kind of flew off the shield, and the chapter ended with Luffy kind of hooking his foot. It looked like either kicking him in the jaw or hooking his foot underneath his jaw. And that's what I found upon closer inspection, of looking at the picture. It looked like he just kind of grabbed him and maybe he was looking to use his force. So that's where we left off. That's where we begin. And I was right in my assumption. The next page, the first page of the next chapter shows that Luffy actually was kind of jumping up and forward and grabbing Don Krieg with his foot underneath his chin and kind of using his momentum, to carry forward to pull Don Krieg back and to just basically whip him back on his ass. Flat on his back, which is what he did. So Don Krieg, within that first page, that first panel, is flat on his back again, right? And so he's spending a lot of time getting his ass knocked down, which I think is great. But so his crew members, his pirates, are going, "Oh my God, Don Krieg, he's down again. This isn't supposed to happen. Don Krieg is supposed to crush people under his might, and he's supposed to be unbeatable. And even the pirates, or not the pirates, the fighting cooks, Zeph and company and everything, and Patty and Karn and all them, they're going, wow, that boy really is, he's really gonna beat him, So Don Krieg goes and then kind of says, enough, you fools, and he goes and he turns his shield into this thing he calls the mighty battle spear, and it's his ultimate weapon, and so he kind of uses this thing to transform it to, and it's his shield, but it is kind of the point of it. A tip comes out of that, and then there's like this 5 or 6 or maybe 8 foot pole that comes out of it, and like I said, everything he has is very transformer like in essence. And I understand too from some of the comments that he was kind of originally designed and written by Oda as to be like a cyborg, so I definitely can understand that because he's got like some Terminator like shit coming out of him. So he goes and pulls out this mighty battle spear, and this is a chapter it's pretty much just one long action scene, from start to finish. So I probably could condense the review into basically like he swings his spear around, Luffy dodges, Luffy gets hit, Luffy dodges, Luffy gets hit. But the breakdown of it is that he pulls this battle spear out and he tells him, he says, this thing is, you'll find it's much more devastating and much more hurtful than the spikes I was shooting at you. And Luffy's kind of like, what kind of spear is that? And he's like, it'll destroy you. And he goes and swings it overhead and just kaboom, right? And a huge explosion happens. And Luffy goes flying back. And we find out from then kind of going in the next panel to some of Don Krieg's pirates, they're like, the mighty battle spear, that's the ultimate weapon of Don Krieg. The harder you swing it, the more force you put behind the swing or the thrust, the bigger the boom, the bigger the explosion. So this thing clearly is based on, contact and impact, and the more of an impact that you have, the bigger the explosion. So Don Krieg now realizes he has the upper hand again and is, and is swinging this thing at Luffy. Luffy is, trying to dodge him whenever he can, trying to move out of the way. The problem being is that Don Krieg goes and actually smashes, because remember they're fighting on broken parts of this fin, this deck, that had been smashed in half originally by Luffy, and so it's now a much smaller piece that they're fighting on. Don Krieg goes and nails him, goes to nail at him again, and Luffy flies up into the air, and he's, oh my God, he stretches his arm out to grab because he's going, oh no, the water, he's falling, and he pulls himself onto a piece. But he's thinking to himself, he's like, with all these pieces of, he calls them flotsam, but all these pieces of debris basically floating around, it's too small. I can't really rear up and get a good hit on him. So it even then goes and flashes over to Sanji, and Sanji's like, this is no good. He's lost too much blood. A long fight is no good, because once you start bleeding, over time you bleed out more, and the less blood you got in your body, the less strength you have to do some of these things. So, he's basically thinking this is not good for Luffy because the fight is dragging on. Don Krieg obviously has an unfair advantage with all of his armor and equipment and cyborg-like stuff, and bullets and bombs. But nobody ever said it was going to be a fair fight. So Luffy goes and gets ready to to kind of come at him again. And at this point, he's pretty much just in survival mode. He's trying to figure out how he can dodge this thing, how he can not get clobbered by this thing. And Don Krieg does make a couple of unsuccessful attempts at swinging at him, and swoosh, and whoosh, And at one point, Luffy even goes, and this is kind of cool, because this is when things start to turn back. It seems to start to turn back in our favor for a minute. There's a panel where Don Krieg swings, and Luffy jumps, and he misses, and he's like, what the hell? And he's got the the spear up like this, because he swung and missed. And he looks up, and Luffy is hanging onto the spear part of it. He's hanging onto it for dear life, and up towards the tip of it. And then Don Krieg basically goes and is able to whip him off or whatever, and he's you little rodent, and he swings at him, and he nails him, and Luffy gets hit pretty hard, and looks like he flies back pretty good, and again, there's not a whole lot that he's able to do, or at least it doesn't appear that he's able to. It then goes in a panel or a page or two later when we get some other people, basically the pirates going, hey, everything's turned back in the favor of Don Krieg, he's the invincible one. That spear must weigh a ton, especially with his armor and his shoulder plates, and then everybody says, well, that's what made him, the king that he is, and the most feared man in East Blue, because he's Don Krieg. And so everybody's talking him up, of course, and saying, well, it looks like things are going well for Don. So I definitely wasn't excited about that, but it's all right, back and forth. That's how it's going to go for a little bit, it seems here. So after there's some brief exchanges of that, Don Krieg goes in, and in a couple more just grisly panels, just all off nails Luffy, boom and kaboom and whack, gets him with a couple of direct hits. And the last one, he's basically just like, die, and he nails him. And Luffy looks like he just gets annihilated by this hit, right? Well, then, in kind of a quick, cool turn of events, and the whole time you were thinking, man, poor Luffy is getting his ass handed to him, right? Well, while all this was going on, Luffy did have a plan, and we finally see it come to fruition in the next panel, on the next page, because Don Krieg goes to kind of finish him off with his spear, and as he goes to go and use his spear again, nothing happens, and Luffy just kind of goes and steps down, on the end of it, like, haha. So he goes, you maggot, what did you do to my spear, And Luffy goes, I landed 5 punches. And you're thinking, what? So in the confusion and everything happening with Luffy getting knocked all over the place, maybe when he grabbed onto the spear, Luffy was able to go and sneak in 5 punches or attacks, and he hit him where it hurts. He looks like he disabled his spear, at least temporarily. So, so basically he's like, now I'm going to send you flying now that there's enough room. So he's also kind of lured Don Krieg over to, where there's more room to fight on a bigger piece of deck. And really just kind of genius if you think about it, because as dim-witted as this kid can be sometimes, there's other times where it's just like you really got to respect the genius of what he did. The way this was drawn, the way this happened, I had to go back and read the last several pages when he said that about, I landed 5 punches. And you look and you think, okay, man, the genius it had to take for him to come up with, okay, I'm going to let him think he's beating me all around the place. And while he's attacking me with this thing, every time it makes contact with me, I'm going to make contact with it. Maybe find a weak point and find a way to disable this explosive weapon, right? So that is how the chapter ends. Luffy's basically just like, pretty much telling him, like, now you're fucked, okay? Because I landed 5 punches, your spear is disabled or whatever, which we saw in that panel, and now I've got enough room to send you flying, so look out, Don Krieg. All in all, I think it was a very fun, action-packed, just great chapter as far as just moving things along in a sense of getting that action in. You like to see that in a movie or in a book or anything. You have some story development, some character development, and this is kind of what it builds towards, that big 10 or 15 minute blockbuster CG scene with a bunch of explosions. So it was definitely fun. Let me know what you think, Nation. in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the like, give me a thumbs up if you think I deserve it, and of course subscribe if you haven't done so already. We will catch you in the next one, Nation. As always, thank you for watching, brothers and sisters. Be sure to subscribe and take a look at some of my other videos. Thanks. See you next time, Nation.